Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today, what I want to do is talk about watches that are undervalued and underpriced. By undervalued, I mean their value as horological instruments, if you will, both in terms of the quality of the movement, the quality of the cases, and all other components. They're just undervalued. People don't like them for one reason or another, or they want something else. And so these are ones, if you're a fairly serious watch collector, these will outshine, I think, most other very popular brands. That's why they come under these undervalued, underpriced. First one is a Roger Dubuis Sympathy Excalibur. I've mentioned this particular brand a lot before, and there are other watches in the Roger Dubuis. I don't particularly care for the looks of the newest ones, but there are a lot of really good ones in the brand itself. The Excalibur line, these are they're very men's sports watches. And they're rugged, but on the other hand, they have the craftsmanship of more artistic watches, if you will. The Caliber RD14 is a super accurate, excellent watch movement. Anyway, the price of this, now the best deal I found was $43.50. This was on Chrono 24. The MSRP is $16,050, and so, like I said, they're undervalued and they're fantastic watches, and they're more affordable. Not cheap, but more affordable. Okay, the next one, and this is a whole line of watches. For years, Jaeger-LeCoultre made movements for all of the top watch companies. Audemars Piguet, Vacheron Constantin, Patek Philippe, they all had Jaeger-LeCoultre movements. So when they started their own company, for some reason, people didn't connect, or some collectors did, believe me, but others like, oh, it's not one of these popular brands that they want to have. So for those of us who are collectors who value horology, this is an opening. This is why they're undervalued and underpriced. It's a good news for us. Now, this particular one, the Master Control Geographic, which I probably mentioned at some earlier time, this is a wonderful watch. The MSRP is $14,000. But pre-owned, I found one for $5,500. This is around $5,500. If you look around, and if you're serious about when you got to negotiate a price, I mean, if they say make an offer, make an offer. Don't say, oh, I'm afraid they won't accept my offer. If they won't, they'll say no. You can go back and change the offer. I mean, this is the last watch that I got. I saved several $1,000s simply by making an offer. It was rejected, made another one. It was accepted. So, and be nice about it too. Say, oh, this is a beautiful watch, and you're lucky that I'm giving you this money. Don't be that way. The JLC Caliber 939 is an automatic caliber. 4 hertz, 1 barrel, but 70 hours. So you got a good 3-day wind out of this before you have to wind it up again. Plus you have 24 time zones, and you have the seconds on the 24-hour display, power reserve indicator, second time zone, date, hour, and minute. This is a neat watch. This could be an everyday watch. You can wear this to work, or especially if in your work you do a lot of traveling across time zones. Okie doke. Moving right along. Now here's one. In fact, somebody said, "Oh, he said, get over your Chaumet Dandies." That's sort of funny. Here you have this company, this storied jewelry company, that is that they're they're not known for their horology, but they make these elegant timepieces. Um, Somebody saw one for the first time. I was reading about. I thought, well, maybe I'm nuts, which may be true anyway. But I thought, well, I'll see what some other ones say and about it. And the first comment that came out was exquisite. Here you have this world-class jeweler who made things for kings and sultans and potentates, made their jewelry for them. And so they're really good at making for the case and the dial and everything else they have to put together. They're really not much for making movements, but they don't mind spending whatever it takes to put the movement in if they want. Now, to be honest, most of the watch movements that they have are relatively common and inexpensive. This is my Chaumet Dandy, and you can see that. I don't know if you can see the depth of how the dial goes down. It's like a big fat one here, and over to the side, instead of having a second arm, they have the Paris Ferris wheel. And the Paris Ferris wheel turns just magnificently, regularly, and very slowly. And one of the reasons for that, so that there's no slippage whatsoever, they put in two Agonais gears. These are Agenor made this little module for them with these two big gears with these are, what do they call it, intellectual property. The only people that can get them for you is Agenor, and they have these incredible gears, and they have little springs in the teeth, virtually no slippage, and so you get this really interesting looking movement. Now, that's not to say that, and then underneath there's an ETA. That's a good ETA, though. Here's one that I found that I haven't talked about yet, and this is a regulator. Boy, I saw this regulator, and here you have this jewelry level kind of horology or high jewelry, I guess. Stainless steel with this just a beautiful watch. And it's a regulator. And so that means the regulator, you've got three different dials or sub-dials, one for minutes, one for hours, and one for seconds. And so there's no center seconds and with hours and minutes all on the same shaft. Each one has a separate shaft. And there's more than one model. There's sort of a teal dial also in the lower right corner over there. You can see it. And it has what's called a Excalibur CP12V-X1, which I think is an ETA based on it. Some are, some aren't. So they use movements by Zenith also in some of their watches. But it's a gorgeous watch. It's if you want to check off the regulator rather than doing what I did and get a $200 watch from Hong Kong, which is still a cool one. But for a regulator, this not only could be a nice regulator, this would be a great office watch, everyday watch. Like it a lot. Okay, now let me talk some more about this. This is something that when I was digging around at these Chaumet Dandies, I found three more. There's more than this. And they're really interesting. There's the Chaumet Dandy metronome, which has a little metronome in the middle of it. The movement is a CP12V-6, which is based on an ETA 7001. Okay, now it also has an AGH 3908 module. And AGH, if you see AGH in a movement name, that means it's from Agenor. So here you have a watch with a ETA movement and one of the best movement makers in the world. Another one that is really amazing is the Chaumet Montre Dandy Air Soutance GM Plat for platine for platinum. It has a Dubuis movement. It's automatic. They only made 12 of these, and they were about, I think originally they were like $40,000. These are really special. They're made of platinum. That inner dial in the center there, the blue is La Police of Lazul. What a watch. The one on the far right is the Dandy Reserve de Marche. This one has a Zenith Elite 655 manual wind movement. I love manual wind. By the way, too, the metronome is also a hand wound. This watch, now the reason I have down there treasure hunt, they're hard to find. I think I found one of the Reserve de Marche, but the other ones, metronome or the air suitant on it, I don't think so. This is something, as a watch collector, looking for watches doesn't mean necessarily you have to look for something to buy. You can also look just for the heck of it to see if you can find something that's unusual or rare or interesting. This is something that I do a lot. I'm just looking around and everywhere. Having sort of enjoying doing it. And these are also these. If you find one, they're undervalued, even though they're probably not cheap. Some of these, there's a sort of a part of them, a part of the dandies that people really think, wow, I got to get one of these. So they may not be undervalued, but if you're minding your own business, just looking around someday and you see one of these as a really good deal, let me know. By the way, too, I've got on my Dandy Chaumet Dandy RD. What's it called? Open face, and I love this watch. It's a lot of fun. That's another thing about Chaumet. It's a great looking watch, and they're a lot of fun to wear. Okay, moving right along. This next one is a Braun EOS. EOS is the name of the goddess of dawn and sundown, sunup and sunset. On the Braun EOS, there are two basic kinds. One is just called the EOS or EOS. And this particular one is an unusual one. It has a mother of pearl dial on it, but on either side of it, you have these indicators to show you when you're going to have sunup and sundown, which is sort of a cool thing on a mechanical watch. This particular one, like I said, this one I found on on Chrono 24, 4193, but it had that special dial. The one without the mother of pearl, I found one on eBay for $24.99. These are really cool watches. They have the sort of the base movement is a Martin Braun Caliber 88.2. It's automatic, 42-hour reserve, and this thing was the same base movement is used both on the one with and without the equation of time. The EOS with the equation of time is called the Boreas. And right sort of, if you go down, there's from the 12 and then below the 12, there's a little date window, and then below that, they have the equation of time. And the equation of time is the difference between the solar time, in other words, this time that you can see on a sundial, and mean time being what you're going to see on your watch. I have, these are hard to find, believe me. Any kind of equation of time watch is hard to find, and when you find one, they're usually pretty expensive. However, another one that I happen to have is the Longines version of it, and it is great. They're fun. They're fun watches. They're not going to be. I don't think most people worry about the what time is the sun time versus the mean time, but it's an interesting thing. Okay, now the final one. I've talked before about Chopard as being a really good deal. Before they had so many of their watches under what they called the LUC movements. The LUC movements had the in-house Chopard movement. However, they also had several of them with ETA movements. Now, let me explain something about this particular watch and why I wanted to show it to you. Beside being whether it's in-house or not in-house, is it a chronometer or not? Chronometer means it has been certified by some certification agency. The one that is most famous and used in Switzerland is the COSC. However, there are other chronometer grade watches. The Horological Society of New York, for $150, you can have yours certified. If it passes, they take it for 3 weeks and put it through all kinds of things. My first Larique watch, I had them do that. So now I can say it's a chronometer. Okay, back to this. I found this one. Now, I'm not a chronograph fan, but this one looked like a really cool one. Plus, and then right underneath where it says Chopard on the dial, it says chronometer. Thought, wow, this is really neat. ETA has 4 grades. The bottom grade is called the standard grade. The second grade is called the elaborate grade. And most of the watches you'll see that will admit that they have an ETA movement or a Solita movement will say elaborate, but they won't tell you what that elaborate is, the second one. The third level is called the top level. But above the top level is the COSC level. In other words, these have all of the features of the top level, plus they've been through COSC certification. So in talking about ETAs or Solitas, because Solita uses the same grading mechanism, so you can find a watch that has, really excellent horology from one of the more, mass-produced common movements, but these movements have been specially, I guess, fitted or worked with so that they meet the COSC standards. And if you're into chronographs, this one I found, now the MSRP on this was $74.50, but the offer was $47.15. This is brand new. I found this at Joma's shop. And so it's just another kind of watch that most people wouldn't think. You don't think of, oh, I'm going to get a chronograph. You're thinking of something other than a Chopard. But Chopard not only has them, they have some very good ones too. Okay, so these are my underrated and underpriced watches. As always, I really like to hear what you think about it and tell me how many other ones I should have mentioned. But anyway, this is an opportunity to subscribe if you like. Until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.